There's a hidden prison you've been living in your entire life, and you don't even realize the bars are made of awareness itself. Every single day you wake up and slip into the same patterns of perception, the same way of witnessing your reality, and wonder why nothing ever truly shifts. But what if I told you that the very act of conscious observation is the most powerful force in the universe, and you've been using it unconsciously to recreate the same timeline over and over again? Right now, as you're watching this, your awareness is either reinforcing the old version of your life, or it's about to break you free from every limitation you've ever accepted. The choice isn't in what you do next, the choice is in how you observe this very moment. Because conscious observation isn't just seeing differently, it's literally the mechanism that collapses new realities into existence. Most people think they're trapped by circumstances, by their past, by other people's choices. But the real trap is invisible. It's the unconscious loop of awareness that keeps selecting the same version of reality from an infinite field of possibilities. You've been looking at life through the same lens for so long that you've forgotten other versions of your story even exist. But they do. And today, you're going to learn how to access them. The moment you understand what conscious observation really is, everything changes. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, but right now. Because the field of infinite possibilities isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to observe with intention instead of habit. So if you're ready to break the loop and step into a reality you've only dreamed of, stay with me. This isn't motivation. This is the science of awareness itself. Let me ask you something that might shake you awake. How many times today did you look at your life and expect more of the same? How many times did you check your phone with anxiety instead of excitement? How many times did you glance in the mirror, searching for what's wrong instead of celebrating what's right? Every single one of those moments was an act of observation, and every observation was a vote for the reality you're currently experiencing. Here's what nobody tells you about consciousness. It's not passive. It's not just a spotlight that illuminates what's already there. Consciousness is creative force itself. When you observe something, you're not just seeing it, you're selecting it from an infinite field of potential realities. You're literally voting for which version of the universe gets to solidify around you. Quantum mechanics proved this decades ago with the observer effect. Particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until the moment they're observed. Then they collapse into one specific reality. The same principle applies to your life. Every moment exists in infinite potential until your awareness touches it and decides which version becomes real. But here's where most people get lost. They think observation means looking with their eyes. But true observation is looking with your entire being. Your emotions, your expectations, your subconscious assumptions about how life works. All of these are forms of observation, and most of the time, these deeper levels of awareness are running programs you inherited from your past, from other people, from moments of pain or limitation that you experienced years ago. You're not just watching your life unfold. Your life is unfolding according to the frequency of awareness you carry. Change the frequency of your observation, and you change the movie that reality projects back to you. This isn't wishful thinking. This is how consciousness works at the deepest level. Think about this. Two people can walk into the exact same situation, same room, same people, same circumstances, but one person sees opportunity everywhere while the other sees threats. One feels energized while the other feels drained. One leaves inspired while the other leaves defeated. Same external reality, completely different experiences. Why? Because they were observing from different states of consciousness. They were tuned to different frequencies of awareness. Your current reality is simply a mirror reflecting back the dominant frequency of your observation. If you've been observing from fear, you keep experiencing situations that confirm fear is justified. If you've been observing from lack, you keep encountering evidence that there's never enough. If you've been observing from the identity of someone who struggles, life keeps presenting struggles to match that observation. This is the loop, not a loop of circumstances, but a loop of awareness. You observe life from a certain state. Life reflects that state back to you, which reinforces the state, which creates more of the same observation, which creates more of the same reality. Round and round, until you wake up one day wondering why your life feels like the same movie playing on repeat. But here's the profound truth that changes everything. The loop isn't a prison, it's a feedback system. And the moment you become conscious of it, you can redirect it. The moment you realize you're not a victim of what you observe, but the creator of what you observe, the entire game changes. Right now, pause and scan your inner state. What are you expecting from life? What are you assuming about your future? What story are you telling yourself about what's possible for you? Because whatever you find there, that's the frequency of observation that's been creating your current timeline. And if you want a different timeline, you need a different frequency of observation. This is where conscious observation begins, not by forcing yourself to think positive thoughts, but by becoming aware of the unconscious observer that's been running your life, the part of you that automatically scans for problems, the part that expects disappointment, the part that looks for evidence that dreams don't come true. Once you see this unconscious observer clearly, you can choose to observe differently. Conscious observation means taking back the power to choose which reality you're selecting moment by moment. Instead of observing on autopilot, you observe with intention. Instead of looking at life through the lens of your past programming, you look through the lens of who you're becoming. Instead of expecting more of the same, you observe as if the reality you desire is already emerging. Here's a practice that will immediately shift your timeline. For the next 24 hours, every time you catch yourself observing from the old patterns, pause and ask this question: how would the version of me who already lives my desired reality observe this moment? Then, shift your awareness to match that frequency. Don't force it. Just allow your observation to align with the version of yourself who already has what you want. This might seem simple, but it's revolutionary. Because when you observe from the end result, instead of from the current circumstances, you start collapsing the timeline where that end result is real. You're not waiting for conditions to change. You're changing the conditions by changing how you observe them. The universe doesn't respond to your desires, it responds to your observation. It doesn't care what you want. It cares what you're consistently focusing on with emotional intensity. And if you're focusing on lack, well, did you know that every moment of your life you're locked in an invisible cage that you built yourself? And the wildest part is you have the key, but you keep forgetting you're holding it. This cage isn't made of metal or stone. It's made of something far more powerful and far more subtle. It's made of unconscious observation patterns that keep recycling the same experiences over and over again like a broken record you can't turn off. But here's what's about to change everything. That loop you feel trapped in, that sense of living the same day with different dates, that feeling like you're watching your life happen to you, instead of creating it, that ends today because you're about to discover the most revolutionary truth about human consciousness. You don't just observe reality, you sculpt it with every single moment of attention, and most people have been unconsciously sculpting the same limitations for decades without even knowing they're doing it. What I'm about to share with you will flip everything you thought you knew about manifestation, success, and personal transformation upside down, because it's not about what you think. It's not about what you do. It's about how you witness your own existence, and when you master this one skill, when you become conscious of your own consciousness, everything in your external world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your new internal frequency. Right now, as you're listening to this, your brain is firing in patterns that are either keeping you stuck in yesterday's version of yourself or launching you into tomorrow's upgraded reality. And the beautiful, terrifying truth is you get to choose which one. But only if you understand what I'm about to reveal, because most people are sleepwalking through their own awakening, missing the most obvious yet hidden mechanism of transformation that's been right in front of them their entire lives. The invisible prison that holds most people captive isn't built from external circumstances. It's constructed from something far more insidious. Unconscious observation loops that keep you trapped in familiar patterns, even when those patterns no longer serve you. Think about it right now as you go through your day. What are you automatically noticing? What thoughts are you unconsciously feeding? What version of reality are you habitually expecting? Most people wake up and immediately start observing their life through the lens of yesterday's identity. They feel the same emotions, scan for the same problems, expect the same kind of experiences, and then wonder why nothing ever changes. It's because they're stuck in what I call the observation trap, where your awareness keeps gravitating toward the very things that keep you small, scared, and stuck. But here's what quantum physics has been trying to tell us for over a century. Reality isn't fixed, it's fluid. It's not solid, it's probable. And your consciousness isn't just witnessing this dance of possibilities, it's choreographing it every moment. Your attention is either collapsing a timeline that matches your highest potential or reinforcing a pattern that keeps you locked in limitation. And the crazy part is, you're doing this whether you're aware of it or not. The difference between someone who transforms their life and someone who stays stuck isn't willpower, discipline, or even circumstances, it's the quality of their observation. One person looks at their bank account and sees temporary numbers. The other sees permanent identity. One person looks in the mirror and sees infinite potential. The other sees fixed limitations. Same mirror, same numbers. Completely different realities because they're observing from completely different frequencies. Most people think they're just watching their life unfold. But what if I told you that your life is actually watching you back? Not in some creepy surveillance way, but in a way that reveals the deepest truth about how reality works. Your external world is a perfect mirror of your internal observation patterns, and when you change what you're looking for, you literally change what shows up to be found. This is where most personal development gets it wrong. They tell you to change your thoughts, change your actions, change your habits, but they miss the foundation that supports all of those changes, your observational awareness, because you can think positive all day long. But if you're still observing your life through the lens of lack, fear, or past programming, your reality will keep reflecting those deeper patterns back to you with mathematical precision. The breakthrough happens when you realize that observation isn't passive, it's creative. It's not just what you see, it's what you select from the infinite field of possibilities that surrounds you every moment. And here's the key. Most people are selecting unconsciously. They're observing on autopilot, running the same perceptual programs that were installed years or even decades ago, without ever questioning whether those programs are still serving their highest evolution. But conscious observation, that's where the magic happens, when you become aware of how you're witnessing your own experience, when you start noticing what you automatically notice, when you begin to catch yourself in the act of unconscious pattern recognition. That's when you reclaim your power as the director of your own reality, because you can't change what you're not aware of, but the moment you see it, you can shift it. Let me show you how this works in practical terms right now. Pause and scan your internal landscape. What thoughts are running in the background? What emotions are humming beneath the surface? What expectations are you carrying about the rest of your day? Most people never do this. Check in. They just let their consciousness run on autopilot like a car, driving itself down the same familiar roads day after day, year after year. But when you become conscious of your own consciousness, when you start observing the observer, something extraordinary happens. You realize that you're not trapped by your circumstances. You're not limited by your past. You're not defined by other people's opinions of you. You're only constrained by the patterns of observation that you've unconsciously agreed to repeat. And those patterns, they're completely changeable in this very moment. The secret that changes everything is this. Your attention is not neutral, it's magnetic. Whatever you focus on, consistently, you become magnetically aligned with, and the universe, being the responsive field that it is, starts organizing itself around that consistent focal point. This is why two people can live in the same world, go through similar circumstances, and create completely different experiences because they're magnetically aligned with different frequencies of possibility. Most people use their attention like a flashlight, randomly pointing it at whatever captures their immediate interest. But conscious observers use their attention like a laser beam, precisely focused on the version of reality they want to experience. And here's what's wild: when you do this consistently, when you train your observational awareness to stay aligned with your highest timeline, your external world starts shifting in ways that seem almost magical, but aren't magical at all. They're just the natural result of conscious observation in action. The reason most people feel stuck is because they've been unconsciously observing the same version of themselves for so long that it feels permanent. But nothing about your current reality is permanent. It's just familiar. And familiar isn't the same as unchangeable when you start observing yourself as the person you're becoming instead of the person you've been. Everything starts to shift because you're literally feeding your attention to a different version of yourself. And whatever version of yourself you consistently observe is the one that gets to become real in your experience. This is why visualization works when it works, and why it doesn't work when it doesn't work. It's not about the mental images you create, it's about the quality of observation you bring to those images. If you visualize abundance but observe it with doubt, it won't manifest. If you visualize love but observe it with fear, it stays in potential. But if you visualize your desires and observe them with the same certainty you observe your current reality, they have no choice but to become real. Because the field responds to observation, not desire. The practice that changes everything starts with a simple question that you ask yourself multiple times throughout the day. What am I observing right now, and how is this observation shaping what I'm becoming? This single question will wake you up from the trance of unconscious pattern repetition and put you back in the driver's seat of your own experience, because every moment you have the choice to observe from limitation or expansion, from fear or love, from past identity or future possibility. But here's where most people get tripped up. They think conscious observation means forcing positive thoughts or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. That's not conscious observation, that's spiritual bypassing. Conscious observation means seeing what's actually here without judgment while simultaneously staying open to what wants to emerge. It's about being present with reality while remaining available to transformation. The moment you master this balance between acceptance and possibility, between honoring what is and staying open to what could be, you step into a completely different relationship with life. Instead of feeling like life is happening to you, you start experiencing life as something that's happening through you and with you, and this shift in perspective creates a shift in what's possible, because when you change the observer, you change what can be observed. One of the most powerful practices you can develop is what I call the reality reset technique several times throughout your day. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, if I could observe this situation from the perspective of my highest self, what would I notice? What would feel different? What would become possible? This simple shift in observational perspective can instantly change your energy, your options, and your outcomes, because you're literally shifting into a different version of yourself in real time. The truth is that every moment you're already choosing which version of yourself to observe. You're either observing the version that feels limited, overwhelmed, and stuck, or you're observing the version that feels empowered, clear, and free. And whichever version you consistently observe is the one that gets to run your life, create your experiences, and determine your future. But the beautiful thing is that this choice is always available to you, no matter what's happening around you, because your observational freedom can never be taken away from you. Most people think they need to change their external circumstances before they can change how they feel. But conscious observers know the truth. You change how you observe, and your circumstances naturally reorganize themselves around your new frequency of awareness. This isn't positive thinking. This is quantum mechanics in action, because when you shift your observational frequency, you literally shift into a parallel reality where different things are possible. The breakthrough moment comes when you realize that you've never been trapped by your circumstances. You've only been trapped by your unconscious agreement to observe life through the same lens day after day, and the moment you withdraw that agreement and start consciously choosing your observational focus, everything changes, not because the world changes, but because you change, and your changed observation creates a changed experience of the world around you. Here's what I want you to experiment with for the next 24 hours. Every time you catch yourself automatically observing something that doesn't feel good, pause and consciously choose to observe something that does feel good. If you catch yourself focusing on what's missing, shift to focusing on what's present. If you catch yourself observing problems, shift to observing possibilities. If you catch yourself observing from fear, shift to observing from curiosity. This simple practice will show you just how much power you actually have over your own experience. The reason this works is because your nervous system, your energy field, and your magnetic attraction are all constantly adjusting to match your observational focus. When you consciously choose to observe from higher frequencies, you literally tune your entire being to those frequencies. And when you're tuned to higher frequencies, you naturally attract experiences that match those frequencies. It's not magic. It's just how consciousness works. But here's the part that most people miss in order to sustain this shift in observation. You have to be willing to let go of the familiar version of yourself that created your current reality. And most people, even when they're unhappy with their current reality, are terrified to let go of the identity that created it, because at least it's familiar, and the mind always chooses familiar over unknown, even when familiar is painful. The key is to approach this transformation with curiosity instead of force, with playfulness instead of pressure, with excitement instead of fear. Because when you make conscious observation feel good instead of feeling like work, you naturally want to do more of it. And the more you practice conscious observation, the more natural it becomes. Until eventually, observing from your highest perspective becomes your default way of being in the world. What I'm inviting you to step into is nothing less than a complete revolution in how you experience reality, instead of being an unconscious reactor to whatever life presents you. Become a conscious creator of what life presents, and this shift from reactive to creative, from victim to creator, from observer to architect of your own experience, is the most powerful transformation any human being can make, because it changes everything without changing anything external. The ultimate truth is this: you are not here to figure out how to fit into reality. You are here to remember that reality is designed to respond to you, and the way it responds to you is through your observational focus. When you master conscious observation, when you learn to witness your life from the perspective of your highest potential, when you train your awareness to consistently align with what you want to experience instead of what you want to avoid, you step into the most powerful version of yourself that has ever existed, because you step into the version of yourself that consciously creates reality instead of unconsciously reacting to it. The loop is broken not by force, but by awareness, not by struggle, but by shift, not by trying harder, but by observing differently. And the moment you start observing yourself as someone who has the power to consciously choose their reality, in every moment you become that someone. And when you become that someone, everything else naturally falls into place, because you're finally operating from the truth of who you really are. A conscious creator having a human experience instead of a human having an unconscious experience. This is your invitation to step out of the invisible prison of unconscious observation and into the infinite freedom of conscious creation. The key has always been in your hand, you just forgot you were holding it. But now you remember, and now everything is possible.